In 1975, three young men dreamed of becoming rock stars, but their songs were rejected time and time again. Exhausted and on the verge of failure, their leader, an engineer obsessed with perfection, decided to make one final attempt. He locked himself away in his basement for months, devising a plan so audacious that it would fool the entire music industry and ultimately turn them into the fathers of 1970s melodic hard rock. Today, we will discover how Boston broke every rule and created one of the most powerful anthems of all time. But their secret would not last forever. And what came next was a long legal battle that nearly destroyed their legacy altogether. Let's begin. At 6 feet 5 inches tall, with a warm smile and a disarming shyness, Donald Thomas Scholz looked nothing like a rock star. He seemed far more at home in a laboratory. Thomas Scholz, also known as Tom, was born in Toledo, Ohio, on March 10, 1947. His father, Don Scholz, was an inventor and businessman who held numerous patents in engineering and real estate. Tom inherited his father's boundless curiosity and his need to invent and understand how things worked. In fact, he would take apart almost anything he could get his hands on, simply to discover what was inside. But that was not his only interest. He began studying classical piano at the age of 9, and during his teenage years he discovered his true passion: building sounds. While other teenagers dreamed of playing like their idols, Tom dreamed of understanding how those idols created their sound. He experimented with home tape recorders and inexpensive electric guitars, trying to reproduce the music of bands such as the Kinks and the Yardbirds. That union of an engineer's mind and a musician's soul would forever shape the style that later made him a legend, as we will soon see. The years passed, and Tom graduated from MIT with a degree in mechanical engineering in 1969, followed by a master's degree the next year. Those qualifications earned him a job at Polaroid, which allowed him to finance his real dream, writing his own songs and recording them with equipment he designed and built himself in his home basement. It was not an easy road. He spent years saving money, soldering circuits, adjusting microphones, and recording demos on an old reel-to-reel machine. Little by little, however, his basement became a sanctuary, and a distinctive sound was born there: clean, powerful, and almost heavenly. Two allies joined him along the way: drummer Jim Masdea and a young singer named Brad Delp. Together, they sent demo after demo to record companies, dreaming of their chance, but every door remained closed. No one wanted to take a chance on an engineer making rock music in a basement. All of Tom's effort, money, and years of work now seemed about to disappear down the drain. But as so often happens with geniuses, the best was still to come. Tom was running out of patience, and he was also running out of money. He had spent years and countless hours in the basement, recording tapes and sending out demos without seeing any results. In 1973, he had formed his first band, Mother's Milk, but they had broken up only a year later, leaving Tom's musical project no closer to becoming a reality. At that point, Tom made a difficult decision that would change his life. He had $12,000 set aside for a new family home, but instead, he risked it all and bought an open-reel tape recorder. His mind was made up. He would record 6 final songs before admitting defeat, and they would have to be the 6 best songs he had written during all those years. Everyone got to work. Masdea played the drums, Delf recorded the vocals, and Tom played every other instrument, recording and mixing all the tracks himself. It was a monumental undertaking, not merely another demo, but his final effort before walking away and devoting his life to something else. When the demo was finally complete, the hardest part began: getting the tapes into people's hands. They sent copies to every record label they knew, as well as to friends and acquaintances, hoping that someone, somewhere, would stop and listen. Weeks passed, then months, and still there was nothing but silence. Exhausted and disappointed, Mazdia decided to leave the project. He felt that he had already invested too much effort without seeing any results. It was a crushing blow for Tom, who continued working at Polaroid by day while watching his musical dream appear to slip away once again, until fate intervened. One of the tapes they had circulated found its way, almost by accident, into the right hands. A co-worker played it for an acquaintance at Epic Records, and when the executives heard it, they were stunned. This did not sound like a homemade demo. It sounded like a band ready to fill stadiums, with powerful melodies, crystalline guitars, a voice that touched the soul, and production so polished that no one could believe it had been recorded in a home basement. They were listening to pure gold. Before offering any kind of contract, however, Epic Records set one condition. They wanted proof that this magic could be recreated live. Once again, Tom Scholz found himself without a band and without money, but facing the greatest opportunity of his life, and he had no intention of letting it slip away. If you love discovering the incredible stories behind rock's greatest legends, give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, Millennium Rock, so you never miss our upcoming documentaries. Now let's continue. Tom Scholz and Brad Delp had no intention of wasting Epic Records' offer. It was their golden ticket, the reward for a decade of effort. So the duo quickly recruited several old friends: Barry Goudreau on guitar, Fran Sheehan on bass, and Sib Haitian on drums. With this hastily assembled lineup, the group performed for the executives in a make-or-break audition. The result was an overwhelming success. The executives were captivated by the band's sound and energy, and their reward for passing the test was the record contract they had waited so long to receive. Epic Records offered them a deal for 10 albums in 6 years. Everything seemed to be going perfectly, almost like a dream, until they read the fine print. Epic would not accept the recordings Tom had made in his basement. The label wanted the album recorded again from scratch in a professional studio, under the supervision of veteran producers. But Tom was not prepared to surrender the soul of his work. He had spent years refining every measure and every tone until he achieved a sound that existed nowhere else. It was the product of his obsession, his signature and his identity. Giving that up would have been like erasing his own history. That was when he found an unexpected ally: producer John Boylan. Together, they devised a plan as risky as it was brilliant. The band would travel to Los Angeles to record vocals and a few minor tracks, while Tom remained in Boston and secretly recorded the real version of the album in the very basement where it had all begun. Once the sessions were finished, they would take the multitrack tapes to Los Angeles and mix them there, satisfying the label's demands, without anyone discovering that the entire record had been born underground in Tom's basement. The deception worked perfectly, and Epic Records never suspected a thing. Tom Scholz now had the songs, the contract, and a band beside him. All he needed was a name, and a song that, although he did not yet know it, was about to change everything, as we will see next. Tom Scholz's musical project needed a strong name. Boylan, who understood music marketing, suggested something simple, powerful, and easy to remember, a name that would evoke regional pride and an authentic American identity. He proposed using the city where the band had formed and where those legendary demos had been recorded: Boston, Massachusetts. Tom liked the idea because it reflected his connection to the city that had become his creative laboratory. And so Boston was born, a short, symbolic name with a clear identity. At last, Boston's debut album was ready for takeoff. But one crucial step remained: choosing the single that would lead the way. The choice was immediate: More Than a Feeling, a song Tom had refined for years in his basement and one that would soon become one of the biggest hits in music history. In an interesting twist, the guitar heard in the introduction was a battered old $100 Yamaha acoustic recorded in Tom's basement. When the company learned about it, they gave him a Taylor guitar worth thousands of dollars, which he never used. Tom preferred the imperfections of his faithful old companion, the same guitar that had survived all those years in the basement. Boston's self-titled debut album became a phenomenon, and its lead single, More Than a Feeling, was an absolute triumph. On the song, Brad Delp's almost superhuman range carried the music to a level few singers could reach. His falsetto, as delicate as it was powerful, marked the precise point where emotion became pure energy. And then came that sound, the riff that changed everything, a wall of layered guitars that defined Boston's style and would be imitated for decades. For some critics, that combination of power and melody placed the band firmly in the territory of hard rock or arena rock, while others heard flashes of progressive rock. More Than a Feeling reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, while Boston became the best-selling debut album in US history, with 17 million copies sold, a record that would not be surpassed until more than a decade later by Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Boston also made history on stage as the first debuting band to perform at New York's Madison Square Garden. That night, as at every concert since, the entire audience sang the chorus of More Than a Feeling in unison. It was far more than a song. It had become the anthem of a generation. The seemingly simple lyrics concealed an intimate story. Years later, Tom revealed that Marianne, the woman evoked in the song, was a character inspired by one of his cousins, an innocent childhood love intertwined with nostalgia for the passage of time. But the power of that record did not end with More Than a Feeling. Every song seemed designed to become an instant classic, Peace of Mind, which reflected Tom's personal philosophy in the face of the corporate system. Foreplay, Long Time, which combined technical virtuosity with raw emotion, and Smokin, which set stages ablaze with its organ riff and surging energy. Achieving that level of success and perfection came at a price. Tom Scholz had spent 6 years writing and recording Boston's first album. And even as the band celebrated its success, the record company was already demanding the next one. The genius in the basement did not know it yet, but the clock was about to start ticking again. And this time, the industry would not wait for him. Not even in his wildest dreams could that tall, quiet young man experimenting in his basement have imagined what More Than a Feeling would unleash. Its success was so immense that it transformed Boston into a worldwide phenomenon, and Tom Scholz into a figure who was as admired as he was misunderstood. But every triumph has its price. In 1978, just 2 years after the debut, the second album arrived, Don't Look Back. It was an instant success. The title track climbed into Billboard's top 5, and the album sold more than 7 million copies. Songs such as A Man I'll Never Be, a melancholy ballad that paired technical perfection with unusual vulnerability, and Feelin' Satisfied, a pure celebration of the passion for music, cemented Boston's fame and acclaim. Any other musician would have celebrated such an achievement, but Tom did not. He felt the record had been released too soon, that the label had pushed him into delivering something unfinished. For a perfectionist like Tom, that was an unforgivable sin. and not even the album's biggest hit met his own standards. When the tour ended, Tom Scholz made a radical decision. He would rebuild his studio from the ground up and take all the time he needed to make the next record his way. There would be no deadlines, no pressure, and no interference. That choice would change Boston's fate forever. Tom's pursuit of perfection and absolute control would not come without consequences. During the 1980s, Scholz became locked in a legal war with Epic Records, which sued him for breach of contract after he refused to deliver a new album under pressure. Tom countersued, arguing that the label had subjected him to improper pressure and interfered with his creative freedom. What followed was an exhausting legal battle that lasted for nearly the entire decade. Throughout those years, Boston was completely silenced, and Tom could not release a single new song without risking another breach of contract. So he did what he knew best. He waited, and he continued refining his sound in silence, once again shut away in his musical laboratory. While the industry raced ahead, Scholz slowly crafted his next album, which he would release as soon as his legal troubles were resolved, as we will see next. Now tell us in the comments, do you remember the first time you heard More Than a Feeling, or any other Boston song? What were you doing and how old were you? We look forward to reading your stories. When he finally won the legal battle, Tom Scholz signed with MCA Records and resumed the project that had been on hold for years. The result of that long wait was Third Stage, an album created amid court cases, technical redesigns, and endless sessions that took almost 8 years to complete. In 1986, the silence was finally broken. The world could hear Boston once again, and the response was overwhelming. Third Stage debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, while its single, Amanda, an intimate, melodic ballad filled with emotion, reached the top of the Hot 100. Boston was back, and Tom had proved that his method worked. Time, patience, and loyalty to his vision were the true formula behind his success. From that point on, however, the band's renewed success would not last long. The fourth album, Walk On, 1994, marked another turning point. Brad Delp, the group's iconic voice, had left the band and was replaced by Fran Cosmo. Although the album retained the essence of the Boston sound, its impact was more modest. The single, I Need Your Love, reached only number 51 on the Billboard Hot 100. With the arrival of the 2000s, the music industry changed. Boston released Corporate America, 2002, and Life, Love and Hope, 2013. Albums conceived more as gifts to loyal fans than as commercial ventures. By then, Tom Scholz was no longer competing with anyone. He simply wanted to remain true to himself. The lawsuits and exhausting legal battles were behind him, but another blow was coming, one from which the band would never truly recover. The death of Brad Delp in 2007, the voice that had brought Boston's most beloved anthems to life. Without Brad, the band carried on, honoring every note and every memory alongside its most devoted fans. But it was never the same again. Today, whenever the opening chords of More Than a Feeling begin, audiences once again feel the same electricity that swept around the world in 1976. That original spark, the mixture of ingenuity, rebellion, and perfectionism, still resonates on every stage. Boston was never just another band. It was the product of an engineer's curiosity, a man who defied the odds from a basement and ultimately gave voice to an entire generation. In a market saturated with formulas and manufactured sounds, Scholz's rebellious perfectionism forged something unique. That sound reached its peak in More Than a Feeling, a song that not only defined Boston, but also inspired artists for generations to come. In fact, Kurt Cobain acknowledged that Smells Like Teen Spirit, the anthem of the 1990s, was inspired by the structure of More Than a Feeling. At the Reading Festival, Nirvana even slipped lines from Boston's song into their own performance as a spontaneous tribute to that immortal melody. It all began with one man trying to record a handful of songs with his friends. From that basement, filled with cables, consoles, and dreams, Tom Scholz changed the history of rock. Just as Boston conquered the rock world with a perfect sound built in a home basement, there was another era when the producer of an unknown New York folk duo released one of their songs without telling them. He made one small change that turned it into a massive hit and carried Simon and Garfunkel to the heights of worldwide fame. Click the next video and join me as we discover the song that was born by accident and changed music history. I'll see you there, fellow rocker.